Hello everyone from around the world. Welcome back to AtomPRO Podcast. We are back again with something very special this year. 80 years of nuclear excellence. We are looking at what came before, what we have now, and what we will have in the future. My name is Somojit Mukherjee. I am a Russian nuclear education ambassador, and joining me today is Anya Belikova, head of project from Rosatom International Network, who will tell us about something very special, very interesting, yet very mysterious: Arctic and the magic of the Northern Sea route. Anna, welcome to our podcast. It's very nice to see you here. Tell me about yourself. How did you get attracted to this field of Arctic and the magic of the Northern Sea route? How did you get interested in this field, and why did you choose? Is there any story in your childhood that we should know about?
You should definitely know a lot about me, starting back from my early days. First of all, I was a girl attracted to ships. Loved watching them everywhere. It was my favorite thing to do. I had a small toy which was in the form of a ship. My favorite animal is a seal. My favorite season is winter. I believe I had all the prerequisites in order to be in love with the Arctic. And this is exactly what drove me into this work.
Wow. From your childhood, you have been involved in this. It's quite an interesting thing to see that what you dreamt back in your childhood, you're now doing in your real life. So, right now in the world, there's a lot of talk about the Northern Sea route and the Arctic. It is popular in the Russian and international world. So why is it popular today? What is its significance now?
The Arctic is often imagined as an icy desert where there is nothing but ice, seals, polar bears, and that's it. But the reality is quite different. There are more than 4 million people living there. The Arctic region is about 20 million square kilometers, and it is an economically growing region. And this economic growth is partly due to the fact that the Arctic is a big fridge full of natural resources of different kinds. First of all, there is the 13% of the undiscovered world's reserve of oil, 30% of undiscovered world's gas reserve. But even if we go away from the fossil fuels, what is even more important in my opinion is that there are rare earth metals and rare earth elements which are key for the energy transition and basically the energy security of our planet in the future. And these rare earth elements, they include lithium, nickel, cobalt, and manganese, for example. There's also silicon metal used for microchips, which we know is the future of all industries, I believe. And basically, it's very hard to underestimate what the significance of these metals is for not just for Russia, but even for the whole world, as those resources which were easily accessible are now depleting. So this is the first point why we're turning into the Arctic, as the world is turning into the Arctic. The second point is that, of course, this economic development cannot happen without a safe and reliable trade route, which is the Northern Sea route, which is originally aimed at improving people's lives, of the people who live there. And this trade route is also drawing attention due to the fact that the world needs new routes that would provide the conditions for the growing international trade. And actually, we see lots of advantages that the NSR can bring. For example, it's shorter, it's safe, and it's predictable.
Wow. I did not know that it has so much significance in our future generations and in the current times that we live in. And I believe that something which is not new, which has a long history that we have found and rediscovered today, will be very important for all of us as we go on and discover more about the Northern Sea route in our podcast right now.
So I would start with the history, first of all. It's true that we are celebrating our 500th anniversary of the Northern Sea Route. And everything started actually even a little bit earlier. It started with the Pomors, which was the ethnic community living in the north. And they had their first voyages along the Northern Sea Route even in the 11th and 13th century. And only in 1525 was when Dmitry Gerasimov, who was the Russian diplomat, made the first map, the first draft of the map of the Northern Sea Route. And this is when we believe is the birth of the route appeared. But what I think is that our ancestors didn't even feel or think that what kind of a pivotal momentum of history that was. And when I talk about the history, I always feel a huge pride for them, because as once seas and oceans were black spots on the map, so was the Arctic. It was hostile. The conditions were extremely harsh. And it took, huge human power, willingness, dedication in order to see the opportunities and go for that and to conquer the Arctic. And just as our ancestors were driven to find the new kind of a trade route for silk and spices, also were the people who wanted to see what is there, what kind of trade routes can the Arctic give us. So definitely, I believe it is a huge discovery that appeared 500 years ago.
Wow, I must say that human strive to make something possible, to make something which does not exist, or to find new places, has always taken us to new heights. And I believe that the Northern Sea Route and its discovery 500 years ago was probably one of the greatest achievements we have ever got. So tell me something about the icebreaker fleet of Russia. As I said that we last year celebrated 65 years of the icebreaker Lenin. How has it given an impulse to the industry? How has the appearance of such a new technology of 65 years of technology of icebreakers through Lenin created this new industry of shipping in the Northern Sea Route?
So the icebreaker Lenin was the game changer of this time. We celebrated its birth on the 3rd of December in 1959. And why I say the game changer is simply because before that we had only diesel-fueled ships. And they had their own limitations compared to the nuclear icebreakers. First of all, the Lenin had much bigger power. Its shaft power was 32 megawatts. It had the reactor type OK 900, and it could go through the ice of about 1.5 meters thick. What is even more important is the time to refuel, because the previous ships, they had to be refueled every month. With Lenin, everything was different. So it could sail for about 4 years without the need for fuel reload. Just think of that. Comparing 1 month to 4 years. That's a huge difference, right? And over its 60 years of work, Lenin has led over 3,741 ships along the Northern Sea Route. Can you imagine the scale? I believe that's the history we should be proud of.
I think not only we should be proud of, the entire world should be proud of such a history. To go from diesel-powered engines to nuclear-powered engines and put it in a ship and then put it in the Arctic so that it can create a route for other ships is probably the peak of human achievement.
It will come.
So let's fast forward to today. The arrival of the first nuclear-powered icebreaker, Lenin, created the impulse for further development of the Northern Sea Route. And today, we are looking at the Northern Sea Route as the fast way from going to Asia to Europe and Europe to Asia. We will discuss the connection between the continents, how nuclear-powered vessels have empowered communities in the Arctic region, and how they operate today, what has happened in the last 65 years, and how we can establish regular shipping in the Arctic Ocean. So, Anna, what happens when the first fleet of the nuclear-powered vessels start operating in the Arctic Ocean? And what are the benefits it gives in navigation and other solutions that are required in this Northern Sea route?
So currently, we have 8 nuclear icebreakers in the operations. Several are also under construction. And basically what the icebreakers do is that they provide the safe navigation among the Northern Sea route. So they escort the ships in order for them to go through the Northern Sea route and through the ice safely without any accidents or incidents. Basically, right now we have the most powerful ones, which is the project 22220. Of those, we have 4, Arctica, Yakutia, Ural, and Siberia. Those icebreakers, if we compare them to the icebreaker Lenin, for example, they can do twice as much. So we have already doubled the capacity. For example, if we go back to Lenin, it had about 40,000 horsepower. This project has already 80,000 horsepower. If we go through, if we compare the icebreaking capability, Lenin was about 1.5 meters. Here we have about 3 meters, and so on and so forth. So this icebreakers, they have the reactors written 200 installed within, with thermal capacity 175 megawatts. So it's a huge leap for us. I would say it was a big, it was a qualitative leap for us to go from the first type to go through several other projects to come to this type of project 22220.
Wow, I believe that there has been quite a lot of development in the last 65 years. And the project 22220 sounds like a big achievement that has happened over the course of technological developments in the last few years. So Anna, since we are talking about economics and the Northern Sea route, how has the appearance of the Russian icebreaker fleet helped us in international shipping, and how it has increased the economic activity in the Arctic?
As I mentioned earlier, the Northern Sea route is becoming a bigger and bigger trade route, international trade route. And of course, the key milestone in developing it is, of course, the provision of the nuclear icebreaking fleet. Given the clear advantages of the Northern Sea route, we can see that more and more companies, more and more people, more and more countries seem to recognize these advantages, and that's why we see the growth of the transit cargo. For example, last year in 2024, we celebrated our new record of 38 million tons of cargo that went through the Northern Sea route. And if you think about it, it's 4 times more than it was in the beginning of the decade. And coming back to the advantages, why is Northern Sea route becoming more and more lucrative for everyone, is simply because I would just stop on probably 3 things. First of all, it's faster. We see that the route itself is shorter by 30 to 40% if we compare it to the traditional southern routes. It's safer. There are no piracy risks, and it also goes within the territory of just one country, which also makes it very predictable. And just the cherry on top, I would also say that the Northern Sea route has no queues for passage, which also saves the valuable time and provides a very good option in building the new global supply chains.
Wow. So the economy. You spoke about the economy, but today we have a very important term which is also closely related. It's ecology. The ecology of Arctic is sensitive. It has its specific flora and fauna, which must be saved. But with increased economic activity, they also come under threat. So how is Rosatom solving this problem with increasing international shipping with saving the ecology of the Arctic?
You're absolutely right to emphasize the problem of the ecology, because what we see now is the growth of CO2 emissions. And basically, maritime logistics in general contribute quite a lot to that. If we look at the statistics, it's about 1 billion tons of CO2 produced every year. And to compare that and get the idea of how much is that, you just need to look at the aviation. And if compared, the maritime logistics contribute just as much, roughly, as the aviation logistics. And unfortunately, it's very hard to tackle this issue. And although, for example, International Maritime Organization mandates to cut the emissions in the industry by 2050, it's easier said than done. And basically, there is this problem simply because of the scale of the industry itself, and because there is no technology yet that would be able to completely replace the fossil-fueled vessels. But we have other options to deal with the problem. And the option number one is to use shorter routes, right? Which is exactly what we talked about in terms of the NSR and how we can compare it to the traditional southern routes, right? It's by 30 or 40% shorter. And the second way that we, for example, tackle with this problem is by using nuclear icebreakers, which produce almost zero CO2 emissions. What is more important, of course, when we work in the Arctic and we develop the Arctic, it's like our first priority is, of course, like safety. And I believe the slogan that we follow is do no harm. We as Rosatom follow very strict rules and follow not just Russian but also international standards that allow us to keep the nature safe. So there is the ecological monitoring, there is the satellite monitoring, there are samples of water, of air taken with great regularity for everything to be under control. And moreover, we have the company within Rosatom which regulates what kind of ships pass through the NSR. So in order to go through the waters, you need to get a special permissions. And this is also our way to control that everything is going in the way it should, that we do no harm to the environment and we take care of the Arctic.
Thank you, Anna. I believe that the Arctic is not just for us today, but is also for our future generations.
Right.
And taking care of this region is extremely important, because not only because it is sensitive environment, but is also that we must save it for our children and their grandchildren to come and see how polar bears look and how seals look. So talking about future generations, we must also think that how we are developing this region, not just for us, but for the people who are yet to come. Mm-hmm. We must also look at how to make this northern sea route as sustainable as possible, and how to ensure that commercial activity and international shipping is not harming the ecology. In this section, let's look at how we are going to do this without hurting the sensitive environment of the Arctic. So, one of the most important things that has playing role in the Arctic region is the concept of peaceful atom. Yeah. So, what are the plans of Rosatom in this region to use this idea of peaceful atom, this idea of using nuclear icebreakers in the near future?
Yeah, peaceful atom plays the role that is hard to underestimate in terms of the Arctic development, for sure. And here Russia continues to be the leader, I would say, because this year we celebrate the 80th anniversary of the Russian nuclear industry. And of course, without all the achievements of the industry, there wouldn't be the exploration of the Arctic. There is the plan, which is called the Northern Sea Route Development Plan by 2035. The executive agent for most of which is Rosatom as the infrastructure operator of the Northern Sea Route. And one of the tasks stated in the plan is to increase the cargo traffic. Of course, the only way we can do this is by increasing the icebreaker's fleet, right? And here we're working in two actually directions. The first one is the resource extension of the existing fleet, and of course the upgrade of the fleet. Now, if you remember, we talked about the London, we talked about the Project 22220. Now I'm going to talk about our future project, which will open even more opportunities for us, which is the project called BASIA. This will be the absolutely leader in the industry because as we look, there was the 40,000 horsepower. Look, there was 80,000 horsepower. Now we will have 160,000 of horsepower. This icebreaker will have 2 reactors of Ritten 400 with a thermal capacity of 315 megawatts. It will also be an absolute revolution. Why? Because, first of all, it will be able to break the ice of about 4.3 meters thick. It's like a male giraffe. I mean, the height of a male giraffe is how much ice it will be able to break. And if we look again at the evolution, we had 1.5 meters, we had 3, now we're coming to 4.3 meters. Also, what is important for the cargo flow is the width of the channel which the icebreaker leaves after it. And this icebreaker would leave the channel with worth 50 meters, which will allow much bigger cargo ships to go through the Northern Sea Route. And of course, that will be also another step to increase the cargo flow incredibly.
Wow. I think just to focus on the numbers, if you did miss the numbers before which Anya mentioned, 160.
Yeah.
That's twice the capability we had before.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I cannot believe that in a single ship to have 2 reactors of Rhythm 400. That is great technological achievement that we have achieved that is coming in the future generations. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see.
Me too, absolutely.
See Russia. But towards this end of the podcast, I would like to ask a question, not just for our audience, but something that interests me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are talking about Arctic and the Northern Sea Route, let's take someone like me who has not yet completely decided about future career. But I'm interested in this field. How can I get into this field? What can a person or professional do to be attracted to this field, to work in this field? And how they can also feel the magic of the Arctic?
The magic of the Arctic. I love this phrase, absolutely. I think that everyone's attention is drawn to the Arctic because of the opportunity it holds. And I hope you feel just like I feel right now that these opportunities are coming, and I am incredibly inspired by the future that is before us. But if you are only starting your way in the Arctic, I would say try yourself on the icebreaker of knowledge. We have a fantastic educational project, which has been going on for 6 years now. And this season, we had 66 school children from 21 countries going on the icebreaker to the North Pole and back. So in order to participate, we have the website. You just need to go through the educational contest and win your opportunity. It is completely open to everyone who wants. And actually, if I were a teenager of like 14 to 16, I would definitely participate. It's a unique opportunity. Could you imagine coming back home to your peers saying like, do you know what I've done? I've been to the North Pole. Sounds cool to me.
Thank you so much for an answer telling us about how youth especially teenagers, can participate and feel the magic of Arctic. To know that we are looking at a future which is filled with opportunities and filled with special moments that are coming our way is very heartwarming. But since we are celebrating 80 years of nuclear industry, I must ask you a special question. What is your dream about Arctic?
My secret dream is actually probably to sail to the Northern Sea Road and one of our icebreakers. I would definitely love to participate in the Icebreaker of Knowledge project, and I believe it's incredible. It's just, I mean, I'm shivering just because I'm answering this question, because that would mean the world to me, to see everything with my own eyes.
Wow. I hope when you go, you take me with you.
Of course.
And I think this discussion that we had today on Arctic and the Northern Sea route has been very fruitful and will be very useful for all the people who are watching us around the world. I thank you so much, Anya, for joining us today on our podcast. And I believe that your knowledge and the information that you have shared with us will help people around the world know more about Arctic and the Northern Sea route. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that's what we have here, the end of our first episode of our podcast AtomPRO. Thank you so much for joining us. But don't go away just now. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment which topics you want to see in the next episodes. See you next time. Goodbye.